Have you ever found yourself taking off all the right boxes, following a morning routine, staying active, yet you struggle to stay on track? I have been there, but here's the catch. It's not about the good habits we do adopt, it's about the bad ones we neglect. I have uncovered 8 hidden disadvantages that is sabotaging your potential. Let me tell you, amongst these, the last one I will share today turned out to be the most destructive of them all. Let's dig into them one by one. First one being one I have overlooked for a long time, and that is to watch shows. I think in modern society, a lot of the conversations are based upon whether or not you're caught up on the latest show. I can recall a summer where I was binge-watching Outer Banks. I definitely spent the majority of an entire week to watch the whole show. Now thinking back, I don't really know what I gained from that, other than being able to take part in a few extra conversations. Just last week, a girl introduced me to a new show called The Witcher or something. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch any entertainment at all. I still do enjoy watching a movie now and then. But I unfortunately think that, especially when the competition has changed a lot, the companies are brutally fighting over your attention. One way to fix this is to be more intentional about what you do end up watching. Which leads me to the next bad habit, and that is to watch content on 2x speed. I don't know if I'm the only person that does this. At the time, I thought it was an amazing cheat code to be more productive. I could finish the video in half the time and gain the information a lot faster. At first glance, it seemed like a genius move, but then it backfired. After some time, the so-called after effects kicked in. Doing conversations or speeches in real life, I noticed that I had a strong urge to hit that 2x speed button, but nothing would happen other than me being more and more reckless and frustrated. This was a pretty bad habit for my focus. Not only did it lower my attention span, but it also led me into a rabbit hole of consuming content. Each video became less of a commitment, and I became addicted to the platforms. More and more videos was needed to captivate me and stimulate me. Another thing I have noticed related to social media might feel a bit too familiar. Have you ever noticed yourself instantly reaching for your phone in the morning? I'm guilty as charged. It's like a automated reflex. Let me tell you, this little routine have a big impact on your later on achievements. I tried everything to break this cycle, completing my morning routine, placing my phone in another room, you name it. Yet somehow my phone still managed to get back in my hands. But the solution I found helpful actually also solved my problem to the next bad habit, which I used to get in fights with my mom. We would sit down at the dinner table, about to eat, and then all of a sudden a notification will pop up on my phone, demanding my attention, and I would feel this strong urge to check who it was from and what they wanted. And now that I have seen it, I must answer it, right? My mom, being my mom, of course commented on this behavior. She was like, "Why don't you turn it off? Isn't it making you stressful?" I rolled my eyes and kept believing that it was cool to constantly have your phone go off, showing just how popular I was. But as I got into personal development, I turned them off one by one and didn't think much of it. Until one day at work, I heard this familiar sound. I was like, what the hell is that noise? Is something happening? The reality was that it was simply just my colleague's phone going off. That was when I realized just how peaceful it is to have them turned off. And I hate to admit it, but my mom had a point. It's truly amazing what happens when you strip away the constant interruptions from your phone. So the solution became to simply turn it off. Use app blockers to lock you out of your phone. Basically become best friends with the do not disturb mode and have it turned on for the better part of the day. Because you can actually, for certain people, make exceptions, making them able to call you if something were to come up. Now that we have managed all the external distractions, you might think that you're ready to tackle all of the things on your to-do list. But there's still 4 habits hindering your success. So those we need to address too. This fifth one might be obvious, but I never understood to what degree it limited my focus, and when I found out, I was shocked. Drinking is a very normal part of existing in today's society, especially when you live in Denmark. Here is the legal age for buying beers and wine, 16. And yes, it do start before that. So drinking alcohol isn't an unfamiliar hobby I have taken part in. Especially in high school and college, people went crazy. Not to say I didn't, because I have for sure had my moments, but I was never the biggest party animal. But I can for sure understand, especially in your 20s, just how difficult it can be to avoid alcohol. It's definitely much harder to hang out with your friends or meet new people, because alcohol is typically involved. At the time I didn't notice the effect it had on me, because I would rarely get hungover. But that isn't to say it didn't have an effect on me at all. Since I discovered it takes 2 weeks for your body to go back to normal after being intoxicated for just 1 day. Now that I think back during that time, my brain was definitely not working optimal. So it was no wonder that I had a hard time focusing and getting things done. Now that I have finished college and I rarely drink, the times that I do have, I can for sure feel that my body isn't thanking me the next day at all. And that was even if I only had a few beers. So I for sure don't want to know what will happen if I went more crazy than that. But besides quitting alcohol, there is another thing holding me back. I know this next part can be extremely challenging to completely quit, both because it's hard to avoid. It's literally in every product, and due to the chemical reaction in the brain that makes us addicted to it. But I just want you to know that not only with this habit, but with all of them, they are and have been extremely challenging for me and other people I know. So you're not alone with these struggles. Take as much of these things I have implemented to help you out. And don't be afraid to ask other people for help. I know it takes courage to admit your flaws, but they are there for a reason. A reason that you still haven't figured out, but others might have. So if you don't allow others the opportunity to help you out, you will stay stuck at the same point you are in right now. Taking that risk and being vulnerable creates the opportunity for changing. Back to the habit that I needed to stop consuming was highly processed and sugary beverages and food. Trust me, I know just how incredible challenging this is. The question which kept me on the right track was, what would the person I aspired to become do? Would they give in to temporary temptations for a negative long-term effect, or would they behave themselves in this moment to enjoy long-term benefits? Now that's easier said than done, but actually it only takes 4 days of detoxing before your brain readjusts and your cravings will fade away. So use that as a motivator, that you only need to push for 4 days and then it will become easier. Plus, you have already come so far and feel amazing. So why should you quit now? Along the way, keep reminding yourself why you're doing this, because not sticking to it will make your emotions explode all over the place and your blood sugar will go through the roof and then you will crash. When crashing, you will crave another high in sugar snack, and shortly after, you will yet again crash. So what will be the next? Caffeine? That is the next bad habit we will discuss. You might know caffeine's perhaps most important effect is that it effectively prevents the action of a molecule called androgen. That is the molecule that makes us feel tired and it builds up throughout the day. But when we sleep, we push back down the levels of androgen. So when you wake up, you will either feel energized or you will still have a small amount of androgen around and you will feel tired, wanting to stay in bed for longer. Then what do? Drink a cup of coffee to wake yourself up, preventing that effect of androgen. But what happens over time? Androgen will continue to build up in the body. And then when we hit the afternoon and the effect of caffeine wears off, then we will crash. You might grab another cup of coffee to finish up the last bit of work, but that isn't the end of this bad circle. It has a nice cascade effect on your sleep schedule and ability to fall asleep. So Then when you wake up the next day, you will have an even bigger amount of andesine built up. And so the circle continues. A way to prevent this is to skip that caffeine in the afternoon and try to push that intake of caffeine in the morning for 90 to 120 minutes. That will help you tremendous. That is what this next habit is all about. One of the most essential in my opinion. I have forever wanted to feel energized when waking up in the morning. I seriously mentioned it in my last video, but since then I have improved a lot and it was much easier than I thought. I almost fly out of bed each morning. And the thing I have done is simply to stick to waking up at 7 a.m. each morning for a week straight. The past 2 days, I have woken up peacefully, ready to tackle the day 2 minutes before my alarm went off. Seriously, I didn't think that was possible to achieve so easily. Of course, some of the days in my readjustment week, I had a very hard time waking up. But that was when I reminded myself if I were to go back to bed, then I would never experience waking up early without an alarm and still feel energized. So I feel amazing at the moment, but there's still areas of improvements. There's one in particular that pops in my mind that I know is holding me back from achieving my dreams. But actually it's just one decision you need to make, and I explain all of that in this video. So I would hate for you to come this far and mess it all up by not knowing this.